In this video, we're going to look at whether there'll be any future technology that could let you live on, perhaps, forever. We're going to assume that there's a hard cap on the physical, organic human lifespan, so we're going to go deeper than just medical advancements that eke out a few extra years. Our short, fragile, squidgy little lives make me sad that we'll miss out on so many future events and discoveries, so I'm talking full on, live long enough to explore the galaxy and meet aliens kind of immortality. First though, we'll need to figure out at our very core what makes us actually us, in order to determine exactly what it is that we need to preserve. We'll touch on philosophy, modern ideas, and some ancient thought experiments. I find all of this stuff super interesting, so if you do too, let's go! Your identity, so who you are and what makes you, you, is the most personal thing you'll ever experience. No one else is ever going to feel what it's like to be you. Every experience, every conversation, every interaction you've ever had, all combine to give you a unique view on the world. A 17th century philosopher called John Locke, no, not this guy proposed that personal identity, what makes you you, is tied to your memories. So he says if you remember what you ate for breakfast, it was you who experienced it. You're the same person who ate breakfast as the person you are watching this right now. However, several years ago, I came across a thought experiment that's been really stuck in my head ever since I read it. So imagine that we're in the future and teleporters are a part of everyday life. You live in, say, London, and every day you go to the teleportation station, just like you would a train station today. You walk onto the teleportation pad, you wait a second, and bam, you're in New York. You do your work, and at the end of the day, you come back through the teleporter to London. One day though, you step onto the teleportation pad, there's a flash of light and some beeps, but you walk outside and you're still in London. So you go to the help desk and you explain that the teleporter it didn't work. The confused looking person on the help desk pulls up the CCTV footage. Oh no sir, it did work. Here's you walking out the other end in New York. I'm sorry, the disintegrator part must have failed. I'm afraid in this event it's company policy to terminate your original manually. So the person on the help desk pushes a button and two heavily armed guards come through a door and apprehend you. What's going through your head at this moment? You're looking at the CCTV of what appears to be you in New York, but you're screaming out, "That's not me, that's just not me, I'm here, that's obviously not me." The person on the help desk feels the need to explain. Well sir, you've been quite happy that it's been you for the last few years. You know the same things, your personality is the same, your friends can't tell the difference, you still hate printers. You were thinking exactly the same thing when your copy stepped out in New York as when we scanned you here in London. Heck, the copy doesn't even know the difference. It thinks it's still you. They go on to explain, didn't you know that's how our systems work? We scan you, we send the map of every single atom in your body as a data file to New York, we recreate you there, and then we destroy the original with freaking laser beams. So, that person that stepped out of the teleporter in New York remembers eating breakfast, but clearly they're not the same you, even if by John Locke's theory, it is. It's only because the original me is there to say that the copy isn't me, that anyone who ever meets the copy would ever know any different. So to answer the question of whether it's possible to transfer consciousness, the only way I'd be happy that a transfer had taken place is if I consciously lived through the transfer, an uninterrupted stream of my consciousness. I want to know that me looking out of my eyes, when I get transferred, it is still me looking out of my eyes. And I've been aware the whole time. So the core idea I want to explore in this video is if I say I am, what really defines the I, and is there any way we could continue that by moving it, not copying it into a different vessel, whether that's a clone or even a computer. The main problem we've got is that there's no question you could ask the copy in the teleportation example that would expose them as a copy. The New York version of me would be, and in the story has always been, convinced that they're me, when I know for a fact that they're not me. I'm here right now, and I'm the only person that would know for sure that that copy isn't actually me. If the teleportation process had have worked properly, to my mind, I would be dead. The original me that can see out of my eyes is gone. Immortality failed. It's a copy that's carrying on thinking it's me. Okay, so slightly different scenario. We're back at the teleporters, but they work differently now. Instead of creating a copy, every single atom in your body's broken apart and your actual atoms are transported super fast to New York and reassembled. This scenario is essentially the same as you staying still, being blown apart into a cloud of atoms and then instantly reassembled in the same place. It's the same atoms that you end up with. So what's the main difference here between exploded and reassembled me and the exact copy of me? Well, first off, in this scenario, there's no previous version of me to compare to and say, hey, that's not me. Now, personally, I'm happier about this reconstructed version being the same me, as it uses my exact same atoms. I could argue that in this second scenario, I'm still made of the exact same material. It's what I started with. But then again, you could examine my exact duplicate from the first scenario down to the microscopic level, and we'd be identical. On an atomic level, it doesn't matter that the copy is made of different particles. They assemble to create the exact same structure. It's only me knowing that I'm made of my original atoms in the second example that makes me feel happier about it. I think for me the crux of it is that despite the temporary moment where I'm a dust cloud, my stream of consciousness would carry on where it left off, building on my experiences and continuing to define me. Whereas in the first example, the moment my copy is created, it's a separate entity that starts experiencing its own new stream of consciousness. We're getting different inputs coming into our senses, affecting our thoughts and feelings and giving the original and the copy separate experiences. Okay, so if you're working on the theory that what keeps you you is an uninterrupted flow of consciousness, when you go to sleep and you become unconscious, is it the same you when you wake up and become conscious again? Or to put it more bluntly, do you die every night and a new version of you spools up again every morning based on the store of memories you have? Have you ever had a really good night's sleep and you wake up feeling like a different person? For the record, I don't believe that, but I thought it was an interesting idea to mention. So, what have we established? If we want to live forever, we can't create a copy, as it won't be us from the perspective we're experiencing right now, and the second scenario doesn't help, as we'll still be the same person in the same body that will continue aging and breaking down, leading to our inevitable death. Cheery. So, could we move our consciousness? What about into a younger, blank-brained clone, or even into an electronic brain, so we put our consciousness into a computer? Well, we've kind of already answered this. Like the late great Stephen Hawking, I believe that rather than some mystical, separate soul that floats off to heaven when we die, our consciousness is the result of the physical arrangement of the structures in our brain and the chemicals and electricity that run through it. We're basically an electric meat machine, and when we die, that machine stops working, and that's the end of us. I appreciate lots of people have a different take on it, so believe whatever resonates with you. If you do believe in souls, it raises the question of how to account for the soul of our teleported copy. Can you copy a unique soul? It won't be unique anymore. Does it get cut in half every time you make a copy, eventually leaving you a soulless husk? The same as if you work for the British government. In order to put your consciousness into a physical, younger clone of you, you'd have to make sure every atom of your brain was identical in every way to your current original, so you keep your memories and your personality. Now, you don't just get grey hairs and droopy skin as you age. Your brain deteriorates, leading to trouble with memory, comprehension, and illnesses such as dementia. In order to wake up feeling the same, you'd have to copy the entire state of your brain, including any age-related defects, which kind of ultimately misses the point of putting you into a new body. Secondly, again, unless you physically transplant your brain into the clone, which as we've just discussed, your brain has a finite lifespan of its own, you have to create a copy of your brain structure. And as we've talked about with the teleporter example, creating a copy isn't moving the you that can see out of your eyes. It's creating a new consciousness separate from the original. In order to be completely satisfied that I'm still me, the original and current me, I'd need to be awake and live the experience of being transferred into my new body or computer brain. It's the only way that I'd know for sure it had worked, else I'd wake up in my new brain and be exactly the same as the teleported copy in our first scenario that thinks it's me and acts like me with no way to tell the difference. So how the devil would we go about doing this? Let me introduce you to a thought experiment called the Ship of Theseus. Theseus was a mythical king of Athens, and he had a ship that the Athenians preserved over time. As the parts of the ship start to wear out, they were replaced piece by piece with new parts, until finally not a single piece of the original ship is left. The whole time though, even as it slowly gets completely replaced with new parts, it's always thought of as the same ship. Now imagine you'd kept all of the old pieces and reassembled them back to make a full ship. What you've made is the original ship. So what does that make the one with all the new parts you've been thinking of as your ship the whole time? And how does this help us live forever? Well, this whole time we've been talking about making whole copies of us in one go. Scientifically, there's not one part of the brain that's been identified to be the source of our consciousness or where it lives. Consciousness appears to emerge from the interaction of numerous brain regions. What if we had the technology to replace your brain piece by piece with electronic equivalents while you were still conscious? Would your brain carry on working and integrate the new part to continue your consciousness until the entire thing is replaced and you're essentially running on new hardware that wouldn't deteriorate? For me, this is the only satisfying answer for a continuously conscious person to experience being transferred, albeit without moving into a new vessel. So we've nearly reached the end, and the main things I'd like you to think about that we've not addressed so far is, does it actually matter if a copy of you is indistinguishable from the original and doesn't even know it's a copy? The world still gets your sparkling personality and anger that Firefly got cancelled. This leads to big scary questions we're going to have to tackle at some point, such as if AI advances enough and appears to be alive. Is it? We've not even touched on any of the moral implications of copying or moving a consciousness. Would you still have all your rights, or would you be the property of the company who made the clone or the computer that you live in? Who decides to make the transfer? What if you transfer the consciousness of a comatose, terminally ill relative into a new body without their consent? Do you think it matters if a copy of you is indistinguishable from the original? Do you believe consciousness could be copied or transferred? Would you step into a teleporter? Let me know in the comments, and of course please like this video if you found it interesting and subscribe to my channel, Yotty Laboratories. Also, are there any other topics you'd like me to take a look at? Thank you very much for watching. I really enjoy making these videos and I hope you enjoy seeing them.